This is part of the reason why I want people spending 15 minutes a day on the stuff that lights them up, that engages them. And I know I can hear the people, I can hear you all out there saying like, yes, but Sam, that would be selfish. That'd be selfish of me to spend 15 minutes on my own thing. And I want to say, again, you've got it backwards. Because what's actually selfish, what's actually an imposition on us, is when you are walking around exhausted and stressed out and with no sense of humor, and the rest of us have to deal with you like that. That is selfish. You show up rested, prayed, meditated, walked, creatively fulfilled, whatever it is. We love that version of you. You're calmer, you're less reactive, you're a better listener. Like, please claim that 15 minutes for yourself and do the thing that you know keeps you a little bit lit up inside.
That's Sam Bennett. She's a writer, speaker, actor, and a creativity and productivity specialist. She founded therealsambennett.com, which is a company committed to helping overwhelmed creatives and frustrated overachievers get unstuck. Sam is also a popular course instructor on LinkedIn Learning with over 1 million class participants worldwide. Her books, Get It Done, Start Right Where You Are, and most recently, The 15-Minute Method, The Surprisingly Simple Art of Getting It Done, have helped thousands of people make the most out of their days. So you'll learn 1, the impressive amount you can get done in just 15 minutes. 2, how to deal with the overwhelm. And 3, why it's worth doing it grumpy. And if you want a quick summary write-up of these takeaways, I recommend you sign up for the free Gold Nugget email newsletter found at awesomeatyourjob.com. I'm Pete Mockaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Sam. Sam, welcome.
Thank you so much, Pete. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
I'm excited to be chatting. We're talking about the 15-minute method, the surprisingly simple art of getting it done. And could you tell us a particularly surprising or fascinating discovery you've made while researching this stuff? You've been in the game for a while, and you've settled in on 15 minutes.
I have. Yeah. So let's talk about how you can change your life in 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. People are always going to be like, Sam, is it really possible to change your life in 15 minutes a day? I'm like, you already are. You're already living your life in 15-minute increments. You may not be describing it that way, but that's how time works, as far as we know. And the thing that I've noticed over and over again is how much a person can get done in 15 minutes. Everyone is always shocked. Oh my God, I got so much done. And how much you can get done in 15 minutes every day for a week, for a month, for a year, for 6 years, for 60 years. You know, and it sort of makes logical sense. Like, oh, yes, if I practice my ukulele every day for 15 minutes, you know, in not very long of a time, I would be a better ukulele player. Or if I did my prayer and meditation practice every day for 15 minutes. Or, you know, every medical and health professional in the world will tell you, if you move your body in any way, shape, or form every day for 15 minutes, you're good, you know? And even things that people think like, oh, you know, I want to write a book. I can't do that in 15 minutes. Well, if you sit down and write every day for 15 minutes, you can get out about 250 words. And so in about 200 days, that's 50,000 words. That's a book.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you 200 days ago? And would you like a book right now?
Okay. So understood. Could you share with us any particularly inspiring tales of folks who have taken this particular prescription and just really ran with it and seen cool things?
So many. I got an email from a guy who was so funny. He said he got the book on Audible. He said he's from Philadelphia, so he's a natural-born hater. And he got, you know, a certain amount of ways through the book and decided, oh, no, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. And he turned it off. But then something kind of kept tapping him on the shoulder. And so he went back to it and he started to listen again. And by the time he wrote me, he said he had listened 3 full times all the way through.
Okay.
And he had started doing some 15-minute tasks that were sort of changing things for him. But the biggest change is that he was able to quit his job that he has been trying to quit for 9 years.
Wow. So what are the tasks that enable one to quit a job with much more rapidly than, I guess, his default approach? And how do you put those into 15-minute increments? That's intriguing.
I think a lot of it has to do with keeping your promises to yourself. We build esteem and respect with other people by keeping our promises to them. We build self-esteem and self-respect by keeping our promises to ourselves. But sometimes we get caught in a loop of not keeping our promises. Oh, you know, I'm definitely going to go to the gym today. I'm definitely going to give them my 2 weeks notice. I'm definitely going to tell my spouse this isn't working. And then we don't. because it's scary or it's hard or it's not the right time or whatever. It's, I don't have any judgment here about how fast things are or are not supposed to happen. I think we're not always in charge of that. But I think for him, there was something about spending every single day, 15 minutes a day, on something that mattered to him. So this is one way to approach the 15-minute method, is pick something that lights you up, that brings you joy, that you've always been naturally interested in, that you've always been good at, maybe something you loved to do as a kid or you used to do before the kids, and reincorporate that into your life. Because even though, you may not join the Bolshoi Ballet anytime soon, 15 minutes of ballet can make you feel like a ballerina again, and that can carry over into your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a lot of it, and learning that he could trust himself to be an entrepreneur, to take the reins of his own life. And it was so, because, okay, here's the thing, it was a family business. So the person he was trying to quit was his dad.
Okay.
Which, makes it a little loaded. And he said, he had felt just so much calmer and clearer about his life because he was making this steady incremental progress. And they were negotiating their summer vacations. And the guy said, and after August 15th, I won't be back. And his dad said, okay.
All right, then.
Like total non-deal. It was so exciting. I was really pleased for him. But sometimes it's a lot less dramatic. I had a client who had moved to North Carolina to take care of her ailing mother. Her mother eventually died. And now she's living in this house with all of her mother's stuff. Again, giant, overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, I can't do this in 15 minutes a day. It's like, well, but you got to start somewhere. So she starts with her mother's office and she starts sorting her mom's papers for 15 minutes a day. Okay, great. Making some progress there. And then she figures out that her mother's record player is in there and all her old albums. And music was something they really shared a love for. So she started putting on albums and playing an album. So that's like 22 minutes. It's like half a side of an album. Children, albums are how we used to listen to music. And then she found a box of her mom's old stationery. That beautiful, heavy cotton linen stationery that they just don't even make anymore. So she started writing notes to people because she'd moved away to North Carolina. And then she had all these notes. And so then she had to walk to the mailbox every day. And she started to get to know the neighbors and the dogs and the mail carriers. And like all of a sudden, this little 15-minute task of I need to clear out my mom's office starts turning into, oh, I'm rekindling my love of music. Oh, and I'm reconnecting with my friends. Oh, and I'm connecting for the first time with this new neighborhood. You start to follow the sparkly breadcrumbs, and it's amazing where it leads.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Okay. Well, I'm curious, why 15 minutes?
Because that's about as much time as anybody's got, right? I mean, I read, you read the articles like, you should spend 5 hours a week in the gym. I'm like, really? What 5 hours would that be? Could you please point that out to me, those 5 hours? Because I don't see it. But 15 minutes, pretty much everybody's got 15 minutes. I don't care how busy or overcooked you are. You've got 15 minutes. And that whole feeling of like, oh no, my work needs me, my kids need me. Not for 15 minutes, they don't. And in fact, it's kind of a good exercise for all of you to let people leave you alone for 15 minutes.
I suppose if I were to get all nerdy and optimize-y about it, I might say, well, why 15 and not 12 or 18?
Well, and that's the whole thing, right? Make your own adventure, right? If 15 minutes doesn't work for you, but 12 does, fantastic, do 12. If 15 doesn't work for you, but 7 does, great, do 7. If 15 doesn't work for you, but an hour and a half does, terrific. I don't care. I'm not your mom, But the idea is to start doing something, to be taking baby steps every day.
I hear you. Okay, so there's no precise super neuroscience magic behind the 15 number, but I would, if I may, give you a little bit of extra credit on it. I think that approximately 15 has some magic to it in that it's big enough to actually achieve a thing and go, okay, cool. I bought a thing. I found a thing that solves this problem I've been dealing with for years.
Right.
By clicking around Amazon, reading their reviews, looking at 4 options, and now I bought the thing. And so, okay, done.
Off the list.
So it's long enough to do something meaningful, but it's short enough to not spark resistance. Like an hour. Oh, I already don't want to do that. This is going to be miserable.
Exactly. So I offer a thing for sale on my website called the Daily Practicum. And every weekday for 15 minutes at 12 noon Eastern, we hop on the Zoom, wave hello, start the timer for 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, it goes off. And everybody looks back up at me. They turn their cameras back on with, I swear, this like post-orgasmic glow about them. They're like, oh my gosh, I did it. I made that phone call. I've been putting off that phone call for 6 weeks and I made that phone call. Amazing. Oh my gosh, I sent an email to my friend. She just lost her husband and I didn't know what to say, but I wanted to say something. So I just did it. I just wrote it and I sent it and now it's done. Or I sat out in the garden with the sun on my face for 15 minutes. Everybody's always astonished at how much they can accomplish, how great it feels to accomplish something tangible, something that's meaningful to you, to be taking those baby steps toward a bigger project. And the little secret with the daily practicum, especially for our neurospicy friends and our extrovert friends, being in a group, knowing that there's other people also working at that same time, we call it parallel play or body doubling, is really helpful. It's sort of a form of positive peer pressure. And it works. It just works.
Totally. Well, no, we had Taylor Jacobson, who founded FocusMate, on the show. And that is a tool that likewise helps you say, okay, now I'm meeting a person and we're doing a thing, even though you're remote. That accountability magic is powerful. And well, how many people show up at noon for this thing?
It depends. There's some people who are there every single day. There's some people who are sometimes there and sometimes not. There's some people who are never there, but they keep the subscription going because it's worth it to have it on their calendar every day, because they can't do it at that time, but the fact that it's on their calendar makes them remember to do it.
Cool. And it sounds like one theme there is something that we've historically avoided, resisted, put off, ignored, deferred. There seems to be some magic there in particular. Like there's some extra goodies that you receive in terms of reward or benefit internally, psychologically, when that's the case. Definitely. And I really, again, in the same way that I'm not particularly attached to 15 minutes specifically, I'm not at all attached to what you spend it doing. And some people come to me and say, like, I have no idea, Sam. I don't even know where I would start. I don't even know what I would spend my 15 minutes on. I'm like, okay, well, great. Maybe spend your first 15 minutes making a list of 15 minutes. Like what might interest you, what sort of tap it on your shoulder, what seems kind of fun. You could also spend 15 minutes staring at a blank piece of paper, because 15 minutes of enforced boredom never hurt a person. And when was the last time you looked at a piece of paper for 15 minutes without reaching for your phone? Yeah. You're given a lot of cool ideas here. In fact, in your book, you got a chapter with 52 suggestions. I'm curious, are there a couple that within that listing that a lot of people have grabbed and said, wow, this is so transformational, Sam, thank you?
I think the things that I see the biggest wow on is taking a walk every day for 15 minutes, even just, once around the building, connecting with people, taking 15 minutes to look up an old colleague or an old school friend or somebody you haven't talked to in a while and just pinging them in whatever way you like to ping people and be like, hey, I just thought about you and how great you are and I'd love to catch up. Because, relationships are everything. Quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. And those little just catching up phone calls can lead to amazing things. So I think those are probably the two biggest wows. But I also like, anything that you just feel like is too big, that you've just been putting off because it's too overwhelming. The minute you start thinking about it, you get completely overcooked. And this happens with highly creative people, right? We get an idea and all of a sudden we see it in full color, sequels, theme parks, international grassroots movement, it's all there. And then we immediately go, oh my gosh, where do I even start with that idea? So I've been giving the example of you have to clean out your garage.
Yeah.
Which obviously everybody's going to go like, Sam, I can't do that in 15 minutes. I need like 2 weekends. Okay, first of all, again, where are those 2 weekends? And if you did have 2 weekends, I seriously doubt you'd want to spend them cleaning out the garage. But let's say the garage has really been weighing on you. It's upsetting. It's causing some stress in your family. Let's take care of the garage. So I would say for the first 15 minutes, just make yourself a mug of something. I've got my little art before housework mug here. And just go out and contemplate the garage. Be with the garage. See what the garage has to say to you. Don't do anything. Just take it in. And it may be that around minute 11, you go, wait a minute. Those 7 boxes belong to my brother, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, come get your boxes. Right? And now you've cleaned out a whole corner of the garage and you don't have to do anything. And maybe the next day you go out again with a mug of something and look in one of those Rubbermaid tubs and you go, oh, that's got holiday stuff in it. Make a little sign with your Sharpie that says holiday and put it towards the back because you only need that stuff once a year. And maybe the third day you take that broken bicycle and you roll it out to the sidewalk with a sign that says free broken bicycle. And in this way, in fashion, a person could, in fact, clean out their entire garage in 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, I like it. And it's funny when as I visualize it, I'm thinking, Sam, you forgot the step, dust out the cobwebs. So,
Yes.
so it doesn't feel gross as you're walking around there.
That would be another excellent 15-minute task because you can get pretty, but cobwebs aren't hard to get rid of. You could get pretty far, I bet.
Totally, you could. I got a fancy cobweb duster too. It feels good. It's actually more effective than just whatever, a paper towel. So yeah, there's little extra bonus tips sprinkled throughout here, Sam.
There you go.
And contemplate, I love it. That's a valid, useful thing to do because it sparks all sorts of ideas and potential strategy and maybe saves you from getting in too deep in a silly way when you can just call someone else and have them do part of it for you.
Also a valid strategy. That's another great way to spend 15 minutes. Call the nice people who will come and do it for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I love it if you can zoom out a little bit in terms of psychologically what's going on here. You've got some interesting insights in terms of you say overwhelm is an inside problem and not an outside problem. Not so much like, oh my gosh, there's too much stuff, but something inside of us. Explain.
Yeah, it's an inside job. We feel like it's happening because, oh my gosh, everything's coming at me with such an equal level of intensity and I don't know where to start and I don't know where to begin and I just feel overcooked. But that's not actually true because when we look at people who work in chronically overwhelming circumstances, the person who was working the front desk at the emergency room, first responders, I did a television interview on a news channel with a woman who said, oh, like when we're covering breaking news or when something tragic has happened and we're reporting right in the moment. I'm like, right, those are circumstances that many people would find overwhelming, but you are not overwhelmed. You are doing your job, right? The reporter's not overwhelmed. The person at the ER is not overwhelmed. The first responder's not overwhelmed. They're running into a burning building, but they are not overwhelmed, right?
Now, Sam, that's actually eye-opening right there. Is that really true? Have we talked to the people? I've got a buddy who's a firefighter. I should ask him.
You should ask him. I'm sure there are sometimes things that are freaking, but it's their job. They're trained for it.
Mm-hmm.
I spent most of my adult life working as an actor and especially as an improviser. I was with the Second City in Chicago and played with a lot of those alumni out in LA. And even just getting up on stage with no script and no agenda and 4 chairs would to many people be overwhelming. We're going to improvise for 2 hours off of one suggestion or make a play up as we go along. But that wasn't overwhelming to me. That was my job. It was fun. It was fun for me.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. And now that you mention it, as I'm reflecting on times that I or loved ones have been in the emergency room, the folks around me seemed so chill and calm and like they're taking their time. It almost annoyed me.
Yeah.
It's like, can't you see this is very serious and urgent?
Right. I also think about the people who work in hospitality or the people at the airlines. You know,
yeah.
Every single time I go to an airport, you're in line for the security check, and there's always people who are like, I mean, we've got to catch a plane. I'm like, kitten, everyone in this building has to catch a plane. Like, that's why we're here.
Okay. So then, indeed, there are folks who are in a situation we might find overwhelming who yet don't feel overwhelmed. What is their secret, or how can we get some of that inside of us?
So I think some of it is just that, like I said, they're doing the thing. They're dealing with what's right in front of them. They're trained, they're prepared. Also, I think they're engaged. They're engaged in what they're doing. When you're overwhelmed, you're sort of outside of things and thinking about things as a whole, right? And sometimes I think we say we're overwhelmed when we're actually underwhelmed. I've done that where I've written out a to-do list and I'm like, oh my God, I'm exhausted before I even start. Like, I don't even want to do any of this. That's not overwhelm. That's underwhelm. That's like, this is a lot of stuff that really should be delegated out to somebody else. Or does it even need to be done at all, really? You know? And so this is part of the reason why I want people spending 15 minutes a day on the stuff that lights them up, that engages them. And I know I can hear the people, I can hear you all out there saying like, yes, but Sam, that would be selfish. That'd be selfish of me to spend 15 minutes on my own thing. And I want to say, again, you've got it backwards. Because what's actually selfish, what's actually an imposition on us, is when you are walking around exhausted and stressed out and with no sense of humor, and the rest of us have to deal with you like that. That is selfish. You show up rested, prayed, meditated, walked, creatively fulfilled, whatever it is. We love that version of you. You're calmer, you're less reactive, you're a better listener. Like, please claim that 15 minutes for yourself and do the thing that you know keeps you a little bit lit up inside. And I have a revolution I want to start.
Okay.
Stay with me, everybody. I have had every job in the world. I've delivered flowers. I was a barista. I was a whitewater river guide. I produced radio shows. Like, you name it, I did it. But I've never had a job in corporate America. So I always have this feeling of like, what are they doing in there? I don't understand. But I keep reading the statistic that 77% of employees are disengaged. 77%? That's a lot. I mean, if somebody took away 77% of your money, you would notice. You know, if you lost 77% of your friends, you would be bummed, right? So, and it seems to me that this must be a very expensive problem for businesses to have 3/4 of their people walking around not giving a flying phooey about what's going on. So here's my thought. Here's my revolution. I want businesses to start saying, okay, everybody, we recognize that you're human beings and we want to give you 15 minutes a day just for you. So every day between 9 and 9:15 or between 4:15 and 4:30, that's your time. You don't check your email, don't make your dentist appointments. You spend that time on something that matters to you. If it has to do with work, fine, but it doesn't have to. Please do you. And certainly businesses have tried this kind of thing before. But here's what I think will work. So now we go into our meeting. We have this habit of 15 minutes a day where everybody does their little thing. And I can sort of imagine the water cooler talk of like, what'd you do? And, oh, I wrote crappy poetry. I love crappy poetry. I was writing crappy poetry last month. It's cool. But we go into the meeting and, I say, oh, hi, I'm, Sam from events. And today I spent my 15 minutes working on a needlepoint project for my godchild that I started when she was born. And now she's about to graduate from high school. So I'm really excited to get it done. Right? Now, there's studies that show that if you let people say something about themselves as people at the beginning of a meeting, they will be more innovative and more productive in the meeting because you have reminded them of the fullness of themselves. They're not just Sam from events and Pete from sales, right? They're like, oh, I'm Sam from events and I do needlepoint. And that was taught to me by my grandmother and, right? So now I'm bringing more of me to the table. And then down the table, there's Debbie. I've never liked Debbie. We don't get along. But then Debbie says, oh yeah, I'm Debbie from accounts and I spent my 15 minutes today doing cross stitch. Doing what? Well, now we're needlework buddies. We can talk embroidery floss. And no wonder she gets on my nerves because she's a counted cross stitch person. No wonder she's in accounts. That's detail work. Oh, I got another. And you know what we call that? Engagement.
Yeah, they are engaging right there. Mm-hmm.
That's people being engaged with each other personally. And people will do way more for each other than they're going to do for any job.
Yeah, that's good. That sounds lovely. You say some organizations have done this. Can you share some of these case studies?
Google quite famously had a thing where you could devote, I think, 1/5 of your time. I think one day a week you could spend on a project sort of your choosing. I think the idea was that it was sort of help humanity or help Google or help, it wasn't so much on enriching yourself as it is enriching the world. There's been a couple of other places that have tried. But I think just treating people like grownups and just acknowledging, like, we get it. You're people with a life and we want you to have a full and rich life. And we're going to just give you 15 minutes a day to do something about that. Seems to me to be a very inexpensive way to say we care about you.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like to imagine that in terms of, yes, you folks would talk about it and you, especially if it's sort of the same time across the whole organization for everybody, then we all know it's like, because some organizations, for example, they will have the week between Christmas and New Year's is just off for absolutely everybody, or right around the 4th of July. And people just rave about this because it's like, it's not just my vacation. I know everybody is gone. Nobody's expecting anything from anyone or sending anything to anyone. If they do, they know they're the ones who are not to expect anything. So I think that's pretty cool. So likewise, if you had that daily 15 minutes, that's just kind of fun to imagine.
Well, exactly. And you could even, maybe if some people wanted to get together and do like 15 minutes of chair yoga every morning, or they wanted to take a little walk around the building or something, you could do things in groups. I mean, there's all kinds of people come up with amazing things that they can do to, get together a little rock and roll band,
Okay. And you say this 15-minute approach defeats perfectionism. How does that work in practice?
So perfectionism is a big word that sort of covers a multitude of destructive behaviors. And one of the things with perfectionism is sort of breaking it apart a little bit, because it is made up of a lot of little parts. And to say, okay, which of these is really functional for me? Because there are some just faulty beliefs in there Sometimes I'll hear from people like, well, I just feel like if it can't be perfect, why would I even bother to do it at all? I'm like, okay, that's an interesting perspective. Where did you learn that perspective? And is that really what you want to be teaching your children? If it can't be perfect the first try, you shouldn't do it at all? I doubt that's what you want to model for your children. I think you probably want to teach your children to like, no, try it, stick with it, see where it goes, right? So be a good parent to yourself now and let that voice that says, you better live up to this standard, young lady, or nothing good is going to happen for you. There's also just the overthinking. Some of us get a little addicted to planning out every last little thing inside of our minds, but then never actually taking action. I had a friend who, when he was a kid, he used to buy all the science books and he would study all the experiments until he really understood all of them, but he never actually did any of them.
Mm-hmm.
He just worked it out inside of his head. And he was like, okay, good, I'm done. So that's a worthwhile intellectual exercise, but would you like to bring something into the world? Like, would you like to try it? I think it also works for kind of what you were saying before, like, it's only 15 minutes and you're going to do it again tomorrow anyway, and the next day. So like, how perfect is it going to be in 15 minutes? And you're going to have plenty of time to perfect it later. So it sort of just hopscotches right over all that pressure. And I think it also gives ideas a chance to flourish. I think a lot of times people psych themselves out initially by going like, well, I have an idea, but I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if it's a good idea. I'm still thinking about whether or not it's a good idea. And I work with all kinds of people, Academy Award winners, Emmy Award winners, award-winning writers, famous people, not famous people. And I'm here to tell you, there's no such thing as a good idea. There's only ideas. And some of the ones that you think are terrible turn out to be fantastic. And some of the ones you think are stupid or fantastic turn out to be completely dull. Like, you don't know until you bring it to life or start to take the steps to bring it to life. So to get out of that pondering mode and out of that inner judgment mode of like, oh, it's got to be good. It's got to be a good idea. No, it just has to be an idea. Just start and then see where it takes you.
Okay. Well, now you have a number of fun phrases, and what you've just described reminds me of one of them. Could you unpack a couple of them for us? One is the alchemy of effort, and the second is grumpy magic.
So the alchemy of effort is something I notice as an artist, but I see it in real life too. Not that art isn't real life, but there's a magical thing that happens when you have a little idea and you take some steps towards it, and then maybe you share it with the world. It sort of changes the minute it hits the air, right? And then you work on it and it changes, and then maybe someone sees it and it's changed again because they've seen it and they've had a reaction to it. And now they are changed and it is changed. And then you are changed by that feedback. And we get this little sort of Moebius strip, this little infinity loop of you putting out energy and effort and ideas and other people responding to that, and that shaping and gaining momentum and influencing you and influencing the world. Like, it's really exciting and fun. And it's the joy of the creative process, is that communion, that sense of like, oh, I did something and people got it. They heard me. They felt seen. They enjoyed it. They laughed. They sang along, whatever it is. Or they loved the equation. They loved the app. I mean, creativity is not just art, right? Everyone is creative. And I just think that little cycle is so magical. And every time you stop yourself from sharing your gifts with the world, you're stopping that alchemical magic from happening.
Okay. And the grumpy magic?
Grumpy magic it's a little process that I put into the book. It's a little thing that I teach. But really what it is just a reminder to everyone that I work in personal development now, and no shade to my personal development brothers and sisters, but there can be a certain amount of oppressive optimism and, what we might refer to as toxic positivity. And I just want to say you can create magic in your life being very grumpy and very tired and very pessimistic and not that interested. I noticed that grumpy people have happy marriages. I noticed that pessimistic people often make lots of money. It is not a prerequisite for you to be 100% spiritually aligned in order to get what you want. So don't wait to feel good. Do it grumpy.
Yeah, that feels like there's some merch there, Sam, if you don't already have it.
Do it grumpy.
That's really good. And it's nice and short, too, because when I'm grumpy, it's kind of hard for me to think about and remember big, long things or complicated things. It's like, there's this thing, but I don't feel like doing it. And so I thought I was able to have that conversation with myself. It's like, okay, well, in 15 minutes later or 30 minutes later, you could You might still not feel like doing it, but then it'll be behind you. And that's kind of cool. You'll feel better having it behind you than you will stewing in the fact that you don't want to do it for this period of time, even if you try to distract yourself with, other more fun things.
100%. 100%. And don't underestimate the positive effects of smugness. Like when you do something hard or something you don't want to do, but then you do it anyway. It's a little bit like when you go to the gym in the morning and you just spend all day being like, that's right, hair toss, I'm awesome. How are you? Like that feeling of little bit of inner pride of like, yeah, I did that. I told myself I was going to do it and I did it. I didn't feel like it, but I did it. That's good. That spills over into your life and, has a really positive ripple effect. So all that, like, don't be too proud of yourself. Don't be too big for your britches. No, buy bigger britches for sure. Be proud.
Okay. Well, tell me, Sam, any other top do's, don'ts, things you want to make sure to mention before we hear about your favorite things?
I just want everyone to remember that y'all are doing great. You're doing great. People love you. You're making a difference at work and in your community and in your family. And it's okay to take the pressure off the gas pedal, maybe. And some of you are driving with your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time, sort of not really letting yourself succeed as much as you might want to. And I just want to say you're doing amazing. And maybe just 15 minutes a day can help tweak you up to the next adventure.
Big thanks to Sam for sharing her wisdom with us. And big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. One sponsor to check out is Jenny Kane. The holiday season is officially upon us, and Jenny Kane is a top destination for the very best of all things festive and gifting. They've got a handy gift guide that makes it oh so easy to check off everyone on your list. Jenny Kane has luxurious cashmere pieces, such as my all-time favorite hoodie that I am wearing right now as I record this, and tasteful homeware pieces, such as their legendary candles. Their coats are also super adorable and cozy and a great answer to the cold temperatures approaching. Finally, check out Jenny's Edits, which provides favorites under $250 and lists out handy gift-giving categories. For a limited time, How to Be Awesome at Your Job listeners get 15% off your first order when you use the code AWESOME15 at checkout. Now, that's on top of their 10% rewards back rewards program. So to get 15% off your first order, visit JennyKayne, JennyKayne.com, and use the promo code AWESOME15 at checkout. One sponsor to check out is LinkedIn Jobs. Did you know that you can post a job for free at linkedin.com/beawesome? And with a fresh year, perhaps you're like many small business owners looking for some fresh insight and talent to make 2024 extra amazing. Well, LinkedIn Jobs has created tremendous tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and free. I love how they make it so easy with their promotion and selection tools. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. No. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Here's some fun facts. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours, and small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/beawesome. That's linkedin.com/BEAWESOME, as in you are being awesome, be awesome, to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Okay. Well, now could you share a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
My favorite quote is, "The cure for anything is salt water, sweat, tears, or the sea." It's from the Danish author Isaac Dinesen.
Okay. And a favorite study or experiment or bit of research?
I remember cutting out an article from a piece of paper, probably from a newspaper, probably 30 years ago, that was done by a wealth management company. And they found that across the board, at all levels of wealth, 2/3 of the people felt like they would be better off if they just had twice as much. So even the millionaires were like, I'm not sure. I think if I had twice what I have right now, then I would be okay. And that little bit of information made me realize, it's not about the number. Feeling okay, feeling secure in your life, feeling like you have a good nest egg is not about what that actual dollar amount is. It's a decision to feel okay.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah.
And a favorite book?
What's bubbling up for me is the Little House on the Prairie books.
Okay.
I must have read those 1,000 times as a girl, and I think about them a remarkable amount. I think there's something about that homesteader spirit that I kind of like.
And a favorite tool? Something you use to be awesome at your job?
Levenger legal pads.
Oh, yeah, with the little discs?
Oh, no, I don't do the disc ones. I'll show you one of them. They're nice, heavy pieces of paper, and they've got room at the top to put a date and a subject title, and then there's a little space along the side so you can make annotated notes. So I can put little action items on the side. I do everything on. I'm an analog girl, Pete. I like legal pads.
Well, doesn't Levenger have a little magic to make it easy to take an individual sheet from that and to put it in elsewhere and organize and stuff?
They do. They have a system called Circa that is like that, those little things.
And a favorite habit?
My favorite habit is probably my 15 minutes a day. I do mine before I even roll over in bed. I do a little sort of breathing, prayer, meditation practice thing that I sort of have made up over the years. And like I said, I do it before my eyes are even open. I think that liminal time right there between waking and sleeping is a really valuable time, a very fertile time, especially for highly sensitive people, highly creative people, busy people. So to stretch out that moment for myself and connect with my feeling of the divine and my own body and my own breath, it really makes a difference for me in my day. And when I don't do it, I really notice it. And if I don't do it for a couple days or a couple weeks, things really go off the rails. So I don't know how many more times I need to prove that to myself before I just do it every day. I'm pretty consistent, but even so. It's not every day, but that's the beauty of 15 minutes a day. Like, you didn't do it today, you'll do it tomorrow. It's okay.
Okay. Is there a key nugget you share that really seems to connect and resonate with folks? You hear them quote it back to you often.
Yeah, one that I hear a lot is get a C. Stop trying to get an A+ in everything. Just get a C. C is the grade that you get for showing up and doing the work. Not doing the work better than everybody else, not being in the front row with your hand raised. Just show up, do the work. Show up, do the work. Show up, do the work. Show up, do the work.
Okay. And if folks want to learn more, get in touch, where would you point them?
You can find me at therealsambennett.com, and you can hop onto my email list there, which is where I kind of do everything is via email. But I am also on all the socials. I am also on all the socials as The Real Sam Bennett.
Okay. And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
Yes. Start doing your 15 minutes and then write me and tell me all about it. And we'll be pen pals and best friends because I want to hear about your projects.
All right. Sam, thank you. This is fun. I wish you many delightful 15-minute increments.
Thank you so much, Pete. Thanks for having me. What a treat.
I really love Sam's perspective about taking 15 minutes to do something that lights yourself up, and that's not selfish, but rather enriching to those around you. Lately, I've been digging my little treadmill desk for 15 minutes. I will do that at a nice little bit of an uphill. It's got an incline going on at a reasonable speed to get the heart pumping a little bit while also watching a delightful YouTube video, and that just feels amazing. And it's a good little break. 15 minutes. She's right. Much can happen in that window. If you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items that we've referenced, please visit us at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP1011. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.